arrival in Jaco, our first objective was to establish contact with Coqui Valverde, one of the directors of the local chapter of Christian Surfers Association. CSA had a compound a few blocks from the beach where kids could come and skate.
Like, the kids seemed to really respect them. It was really neat to see how they interacted with the kids.
In addition to providing kids with a place to hang out and to do Bible study, CSA has also hosted a yearly contest at Hermosa Beach called the Eternal Crown Surf Contest. So having an established relationship with the locals, Coqui led us into the streets to invite kids to the surf camps we'd be holding that week.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give one flyer to each kid. We're going to do 20 kids for the surf camp.
One of the first neighborhoods we visited was a Nicaraguan refugee camp on the banks of a dry riverbed, where the VBS team was holding a backyard Bible club.
My low was seeing the Nicaraguan village today. That was just sad, to see how those people have to live.
My high was actually the opposite of Joshua's, seeing the Nicaraguan village.
Not only did kids come out of the woodwork for the VBS, but they excitedly looked forward to the next day when the surf camp would begin.
Alright, so Ford gets us up at freaking 4:30 in the morning. First morning in Jaco to go surfing. And as you can tell, it's pretty black out there. So now we're sitting here listening to the surf, waiting for the sun to come up. Dude, the sun's coming up. We were thinking we were gonna miss the surf because it was like 5:30, whatever. We get out here with these guys, and it's only 4:30. Mr. Ford set the alarm for 3:30 in the morning. Look at this, dude. That's what time it really is. I've been up for an hour and a half. Bum.
At 3:40 in the morning.
And I knew it felt like 3 o'clock in the morning. What's going on?
Stand and deliver, you wonder and shiver, collections of days, they train us to numb our chest.
In the morning tomorrow, not just with the intent to surf, because that's fun and it's going to happen, but let's let the thing be on our mind that, man, God, who do you have for me? Is there somebody going to be that I'm going to meet? Let's be praying about that tonight. Let's be thinking about it. Let's do it on purpose. God will bring the people to us who we're supposed to be, hanging out with and loving on.
Si el Espíritu de Dios está en mi corazón, yo danzo como David. Si el Espíritu de Dios está en mi corazón, yo danzo como David. Oh, yo danzo como David. Oh, yo danzo como David.
Being from Panama City, we sort of take the ocean for granted sometimes, and it was cool to share something that I know that I love the ocean, share that with them down, in a different country.
Even though there was a huge language barrier, I really think that they got why we were there, and it was to hang out with them and to love them.
The surf camp the last few days, any highlights or memories?
Yeah, Ferdinand. He caught on real quick, but he wouldn't stand up. He would just squat with his arms straight out like an airplane and go shoot straight. And so finally, we got to the point to where I'd stand up, pop up, pop up. So he'd stand up, and then he just turns body sideways, just like an airplane. It was hilarious.
So while we were teaching kids to surf in the southeast corner of the Jaco Cove, the other ministry teams were busy doing work all around the city.
There was a time I didn't have anything to do, so I went with the medical group. We're sitting there walking around in this little shanty town, and there's these guys that are working on cars on this half-built garage. It wasn't even finished, and they had it full, all these cars in there. And when they realized what was going on, they just immediately started pushing all their cars off the road, across the road into the ditch off the side to make a spot for us. And that was cool. That was a good feeling. They were just, come on in, you know, and we helped set up this medical tent, and all the tables and the doctors were all getting set up, and already there was a line. And just to see these kids sitting on the laps of the doctors and getting help, you know, for their rashes or their cuts or their coughs or their colds and everything, that was a high for me.
Meanwhile, the construction team was hard at work in the heart of Jaco on a new church building for resident missionaries Mike and Reve Lawrence.
Well, the church, God put in our heart to plant probably about 3.5 years ago. We moved here 2 years ago to begin that process. And then about a month ago, the Lord opened some doors and answered some prayers for us to get a facility in the community. So now we're going to have a place to meet that's on the second busiest road in Jaco.
Our construction team that we've been talking about for the mission trip actually spent the second half of the trip working on this coffee house / church. And so quite a bit of work got done. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's very accurate. Actually, the majority of the work got done. It was just one big rectangular shaped facility, a warehouse of sorts, but made out of concrete. And now the walls are up for the bathroom and to separate the cafe from the church facility. So we still have some work to do, but a large chunk of the work has been completed.
By the evening of Monday, July 16th, we had taught some kids the surfing basics, met some new friends, and even managed to catch a few waves ourselves. As we retired for the night, little did we know that the next day would bring the trip's next big surprise. But this time, it was a good one. We were telling each other our highs and lows at the morning team meeting as usual, when Carmen notified us of a decision she wanted to make that would end up affecting not only the BWO team, but the mission trip as a whole.
Is Dustin here?
Yeah.
Where is he? Oh. I would like to be baptized today, and I don't know if that's possible, but I think that'd be really, really cool because I've never been baptized before.
So during the next day's surf camp, Carmen walked out into the water to be baptized for the first time. One of the chief drawbacks to short-term trips overseas is that an unhealthy relationship is often formed between the sender and receiver. We come with the best intentions, but often don't realize some of the unintended consequences that accompany those intentions. We give gifts, but in so doing often foster dependency in the receiver. As Americans, we see people as being poorer than us and sometimes pity them, and they see that. So when we go with the intent to share the gospel of Christ, oftentimes they end up receiving a different message entirely, one we didn't intend. They end up receiving the message of American capitalism. Before, they didn't feel like they were missing anything, but now they see all they're missing, and some of them begin wanting it. And they begin to depend on American Christians to bring it to them. And some of them begin looking at us with a mixture of jealousy and resentment, especially if we do a better job of living the American dream than the cross of Christ. But when Carmen made her public profession of faith in Christ by being baptized in the waters of Jaco on Tuesday, July 17th, she demonstrated that we Americans need help just as much as anyone else, and that the Savior we're talking about saves us too. By getting baptized in front of all those kids, she helped peel back some of the layers of misunderstanding and miscommunication that always occur in cross-cultural ministry, so the receivers could see the gospel in a form they could understand. But the effects of Carmen's choice to get baptized did not end there.
It was like it started some type of trend, and it was quite amazing to see how it progressed, because the next day we had quite a few people volunteer, like, oh, I want to get baptized.
Find me in the river, find me there, find me on my knees with my soul laid bare. Even though you're gone and I'm cracked and dry, find me in the river, I'm waiting here.
During one of the final baptisms, a local man who had walked by and saw the baptisms in progress decided he wanted to be baptized on the spot. After talking to a few pastors via the translator, he was baptized.
Find me in the river, I'm waiting here for you. Come
Throughout the trip, we had our share of weather woes. Hot and humid in Jaco, cooler than expected in the retreat center, and rainy in Kitarisi. In fact, it rained almost every afternoon in Kitarisi, which cut into our ministry time. But the weather had not affected the surf ministry in Jaco yet, until the last day, when the trip took its final unexpected turn. But this time we were ready for it with a plan B.
So today's the last day. We're in Jaco, or Jaco if you're a Tico or a Tika, which is the locals, and it's raining. And even though we're surfing, the students that would come out to learn surfing won't come out because it's raining. So even the Nicaraguans and the Costa Ricans won't come out. So what we're going to do today instead of surf lessons is we are going to do a beach walk, beach cleanup, and we're going to do a prayer walk. So as we walk and pick up trash, we're going to be praying for the city in probably groups of 2, just spread out, asking that the Lord would take care of this place. I mean, he was here far before we were, and he'll be here far after. But we've all now got a heart for Jaco and for San Jose, and so we're going to just ask that God would handle that and be here and love these people. And so that's what we're doing today.
I was kind of angry that all the other kids got to go do like some awesome things and like work with people and just chill, but we had to go with Dusty and pick up garbage on a nasty, sewagey beach. And I remember talking to God about that and just being like, God, why in the world are we doing this? Like, I don't see any purpose. It's our last day. Why aren't we doing stuff with community? We got to walking down the beach, and I saw this guy out in the distance, and he's just standing all alone. And it looked so peculiar. So I was like, God, maybe that's why we're here. So I went up to him and introduced myself, and he started talking. And the more I started looking at him, he just kind of smelled really like strong, and like his eyes were just blood red. So I started thinking, I was like, what am I doing here? Should I have even come up to him? He was a drug dealer. He actually goes there every morning. That this guy, who knows if he's scary or violent. I started praying. I was like, God, please, I don't want to be alone. I'm so scared. And then for like out of the blue, I looked behind me because I see like some movement out of like my peripheral vision. And I look back, and it's Jeremy. And Jeremy actually just like stayed there, like within my peripheral vision the entire time, which just was like a huge comfort knowing that there was a guy somewhere close. That was quite amazing of Jeremy, and I think I appreciate him more than he realizes. There's a couple of times where people just kept on circling around, waiting for him, and he'd have to wave them off while we were talking because all they wanted was something from him. Just from talking to him, I could kind of tell that that's all that anybody ever really did for him, was want something from him. And I don't think anybody ever approached him just saying, hey, or how are you, with asking nothing in return. So I think he was kind of shocked, and I don't think he was used to it. After we started talking, I started realizing, like, I could do the Romans Road, or, just like explain to him, step by step, Jesus' salvation. But then I realized, like, for someone like him who'd never been presented with the gospel, and actually he had when he was a child, but he just had terrible experiences. I don't know, I just felt led by the Spirit to just drop like the super spiritual type of words. Maybe just showing him the love of Christ through just talking to him. I think that was a breakthrough, just speaking to him. So
Jim Elliott said, "Wherever you are, be all there. Live to the hilt every situation you believe to be the will of God." I think by the end of our trip, we were beginning to learn this lesson, that even when our plan is compromised, or our situation is not ideal, that we can still do the best with what we've been given. That even picking up trash on the beach with a worshipful heart can not only lead to ministry, but become one. Short-term missions trips are memorable occasions, filled with fun times and new friends, emotional highs and inside jokes, beautiful sights and new experiences. They give us opportunities to see God work in unique ways and perhaps hear Him afresh. But it's so easy to get caught up in remembering these trips instead of learning from them. So rather than rest on our laurels and delight in past memories, let's take the lessons we've learned from this trip and apply them, remembering that there's still a big, beautiful world of people out there who don't know our King. Let's get to it.